Here we go.
Microphone. All right, we should be able to go live to the group from here. I've done this before.
All right. I believe we may be.
It says live comments, so it might be. Yeah, it says
Yeah, I
live.
think we are.
All right,
I think we are. Hopefully, we'll just hang out for a second and people will show up as they were.
Yeah, if somebody's watching this, just drop a comment so we can make sure we're live, please. I'll double check on my other monitor too.
It's funny because, yeah, maybe I can check on my phone to see if it shows as live in the baller room.
Yep, we're live. It's showing up. Okay, cool.
All right.
Yep.
Boom.
Awesome.
There we go. What's up, Steven? What's up, Josh? Let's go. All right. We'll hang out a minute. For everybody hopping on, thank you for, bearing with me mostly through the technical difficulties. I've done this to my personal page, but not to a group before. So nonetheless, I wanted to bring Brandon on. We had a conversation the other day, met through some mutual friends, and I was just thinking after our conversation, this is a pretty cool project you're working on. So nonetheless, for everybody watching, feel free to drop a comment if you haven't already. Drop a like, drop a heart, whatever it is you're into. And if you're in the future and you're watching the replay, then feel free to comment hashtag replay to let us know that you caught the replay. And without further ado, I want to introduce Brandon, the owner and founder of UPG Waste and Recycling. What's up?
Hey, Drew, how you doing? I'm glad we connected the other day. Love it.
For sure, man. And so, like a lot of the people in the group, I don't think we even met because of the group. It was because of Zach.
Yeah, it was because of Zach. 100% Zach. It was all Zach.
General Facebook stuff. But nonetheless, you definitely stuck out to me immediately as someone who fits what I see as the baller type of person. Like, be all in. You had this vision, you had this idea, and you took action, and now you are literally all in on this thing. So I don't know where you want to start, but tell us a little bit about what you're up to.
Oh, it just keeps cascading from here. So, after I exited my last project, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. Because, I've been self-employed in different things for years, but I never had something. I never felt like what I wanted to do was something I wanted to do the rest of my life, if that makes sense. I'd never felt that before this, right? And so when I was looking at what to do next, we eventually, I started learning about the sustainability realm and getting into sustainability and helping, the economy, the earth, and waste problems and carbon problems and all that type of stuff. Typically what people look into. And we came across the concept to start all this, which was e-waste, which is electronic waste, which accounts for 70% of all toxic waste on the planet. And 50% of all e-waste has recoverable sensitive data on it from companies, consumers, and everyone else. That is a huge problem, right? And so that really sparked my interest to start this, because I was like, all right, cool. This is something that helps the planet. It's in the sustainability realm. People grasp the concept of it, but it's also a security issue for businesses. It's also
you took the words right out of my mouth. I was like, this is touching on so many different things.
Yeah, there's like multiple different pain points to it. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I actually like this. And we ended up finding a kind of somebody who had built and sold 2 e-waste companies, and he became my unofficial mentor. I say unofficial because I don't pay him, but every couple of weeks he checks in and usually gives me a little bit more info on how to do and run things. But it kind of cascaded from there into something that just beyond my control of what we thought we were going to do. When we started UPG Waste, it was to focus on e-waste, right? Collecting all the electronics and building, a distribution chain through electronic recycling, which means if somebody brings us their electronics, we do data destruction on them, data sanitation. So they'll drop them off, we'll do data destruction, data sanitation for a low price or sometimes even free, depending on if we can resell it after we do that. And then we put it through a distribution chain, which is we either after we do the data destruction, we resell it, or B, we wholesale it, or C, we put it through the recycling process because some stuff is just so broke, right? Like some stuff just beyond repair. So then we go in and we put it through a recycling process with partners, which they grind it down and get the metal and gold and silver out of it and stuff. And it stays out of landfills and it solves the security problem, right?
Yeah.
That cascaded into something else, which was just ridiculous, which was when we started that, I built my first drop-off center at the co-work of Londonderry, and we held our first e-drive. When going through this, I had a friend in the 3D printing field, and a very smart gentleman, and he was doing housing development with 3D printing. And when he was talking one day, he started getting the conversation about something, and I just had this light bulb moment where I was like, I wonder what we can turn into 3D printing filament. And then from there, we figured out processes and systems to turn plastic waste into 3D printing filament. And then it just opened the door to this whole nother world, because I'm like, wait, we can pick up plastic waste. Like you saw my Total War pre-workout bottle. I don't know.
Yeah, your story or something, right?
Yeah, like we can pick up plastic waste, put it through a series of processes, and turn it into 3D printing filament that can be used to create brand new end products and put back into the economy from waste. I'm like, no way, but it was real. And I was like, holy crap. So then we went, we dug deep into that, and we figured out all these different types of plastic we could put back into the economy through that process. And then we figured out we could also do it with cardboard. And then we figured out we could take this plastic and we could turn it into graphene. And graphene is a whole nother world and conversation to get into, but it's the next substance of the future. It's 10 times stronger than diamond. It's insane, but it's flexible and stronger than diamond. So we could turn plastic waste into graphene, and then we could take that graphene from plastic waste, and we could take that 3D printed filament we created from plastic waste and combine the two, both from waste. And I was like, whoa, okay. So then we're like, how do we get funding for this? So we started, we decided we're going to start an R&D center called Project 3D. And it was going to be an entire nonprofit around research and development. So we started a GoFundMe and started raising money on that to get the first $5,000 to actually incorporate the nonprofit and go through that route to start taking even bigger donations from companies. And as we did that, so we got that idea down. And as we went through that route of understanding, okay, UPG Waste is now dealing with e-waste, and we can incorporate plastic into it, right? That was beautiful, because so many businesses have plastic that they're just doing something with, and just throwing it in a green recycling bucket doesn't do anything. I had a whole conversation on this the other day, that just because you think you're recycling doesn't mean you are, because I've been in the towns with no recycling, with curbside recycling, private curbside recycling, and no curbside recycling. So you have to see all of it. And a lot of it's just pick and choose, right? If they don't have an idea to do something with it, it goes back in a landfill, and they just don't tell anyone. That's why in 2018, China cut off the US from transporting plastic waste to their country. If we if recycling actually did something, why were we doing that?
Yeah. And you're, not to get you off course, but you're just touching on so many things. We were talking the other day about, is your stuff actually getting recycled? Is your data actually being cleared off these devices when you turn them in, this e-waste, these devices, these computers, these cell phones, all these things? Like I talked about how when I used to work at Verizon, we used to take those things in and we'd pay the client or the customer, a certain amount for that phone they're turning in. But I just throw it in a bin. I thought about it, but I never knew. Where does it go from there?
There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. There's no, we have a verification process where once the data is destroyed and wiped off, you get a certificate of verification of that, proving that it is, and makes our company liable for that data should it come out in the future from that device, because that means we lied to you, and we don't do that.
Yeah. And then you have the whole, the e-waste, where you're actually creating a supply chain from waste. And
I will give you an incredible example. We are finalizing a partnership with a financing platform that allows, now this is crazy, that allows people for as little as a 550 credit score to finance electronics from us. So when we put through or they can have no credit check options as well. So on the back of any big e-waste company, they usually have some sort of retail store or secondary market of selling electronics, because that's how you make a lot of money, right? So we're building a tech company on the backside called Refurbished Tech, where we want to be able to put refurbished second market electronics that are certified in every home across the USA, type of deal, and make technology accessible to everyone. That will eventually move into 3D printing equipment and other forms of technology as it grows, because then if we can get secondhand technology, it falls under that category and we can finance it to anyone, regardless of the credit score.
That's awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know much about 3D printing, but you know, back in high school, you had like the principles of engineering class. I messed around with them a little bit. I'm sure in that 15 year span, the capacity and the capability of these things has exponentially changed. I've heard ripples of, you know, 3D printing in certain applications, at least. I'm not sure if there's a universal statement or not, but that it's able to produce certain goods at a much lower cost than their current strategy, their current method of production. Not to mention, so you're let's say you can produce this product, whatever it is, at a lower cost through a 3D printer than the traditional method. But then you additionally add in the fact that you're getting that material from waste. So now you're kind of double dipping. I mean, is there an example, a real world example that you can think of there?
You're bringing up the subject I love. So this entire, it's not just, most people, like, you know, they say focus on one course until successful. I've always, you know, for me, it's not UPG waste, because there are so much that encumbers what we're about to get into and do. It's not the business itself, it's the vision, because we need to incorporate multiple businesses to bring this vision to life, right? My vision is actually called the new supply chain, right? Because here's what's happening, and I love talking about this. Regardless of your view on politics, we have a couple facts here. Product cost is going through the roof on many things, right? Like things, boxes, tools, whatever it is, car parts. There's just a post in my area the other day about car parts being, like, the ability to bring in your car into the shop to be repaired. Costs are soaring and customers are getting mad at the automotive shops, but it's not their fault because they have to purchase the parts, and the parts are coming from overseas. And two things are happening here. One, product cost is going through the roof because of everything going on with the pandemic. And two, logistics has become a nightmare, right? It takes forever to get anything. So I don't know if you know this, but a lot of car parts can be 3D printed.
Prime example, boom.
So this is where we go with this. And this is where the new supply chain come intact. We're not doing anything with a lot of the waste, and there's no universal solution. We're digging into it. Some people are hobbyists, but there's no universal solution to take all these things and create new supply chains from them. However, if we want to hedge against product costs going through the roof and logistic problems and open up new jobs, what do we do?
And we can recycle and replace the need for overseas, and we can recycle that shit. And
we bring everything local, everything to the US. We focus on the US waste problem, which starts with e-waste and plastic, because all e-waste typically has plastic to it too. Like, I don't want to pull this out, but one of these, this is considered e-waste. It's a speaker, right? But this coating is plastic. So you figure out what type of plastic this is. If this is damaged, so I can't refurbish and resell it, we want to be able to take this coating off and shred it, and then mold it and put it through an extruder, and then turn it into 3D printing filament so we can create maybe more speakers from it. So we take something that's unrefurbishable and turn it refurbishable into a brand new product. So the thing is, if we get waste for free or very low cost, most people producing products and small businesses producing products have a cost to create those products or require them, right? So when we get waste for free, we have little to no cost to acquire that waste. We just have the labor for the process, and we just have whatever we did to get the machines of the process, right? And we put it through the process. Now we're creating brand new end products locally for local businesses at a much cheaper price than they would get anywhere else where they're normally buying. So they buy cheaper from us, and then once they buy cheaper from us, they can sell for less and still make the same, if not better, margins to the consumer.
Totally.
And it hedges against the rising product cost and the shipping delays, because now everything's local.
Relieves a lot of pressure in multiple areas, for sure.
It's a big vision, but it's something we were able to put together and understand and start attacking.
That's the name of the game, man. Just get started and then don't stop.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
that's essentially why we started Project 3D as a nonprofit in the middle of it, is because we want to have an entire R&D department, because there's so much waste. There is so much different types of waste and plastic and things that can be turned into wealth. Like it's like when I pull up a product, I'm like, is this waste or is this wealth? And I've been doing this on Instagram, and I want people to like think about it, like truly think about it, because it's like this.
One man's trash, one man's treasure.
Yeah, it can be turned into wealth. It can be turned into new product, and it can frankly save the supply chain right now and open up jobs as well while doing that. Because if we don't get ahead of this thing, what's going to happen is we're just going to allow product costs to go through the roof. We're just going to allow supply chain to get worse. We're going to run into problems with overseas. And then if they cut things off, China just cut off, I forget the product, but China just cut off a product to the US that we can make here, but we get it from China. Well, if we can figure out how to 3D print that here, we don't need them.
Yeah. So obviously, I mean, just in the for the sake of time, I think you've already provided a ton of value. But again, for the sake of time, don't want to make it too long. But
Absolutely.
one thing I'm interested in, obviously, your project has a little bit of momentum now. It's still a baby, if I'm not mistaken, but you're getting a little bit of momentum. You're started. The ship's kind of making its way out of the harbor, so to speak. So that's exciting. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of ups and downs along the way, as with anything.
We just nailed our first. Eventually, we're going to have a franchise. Well, not that you can't franchise a nonprofit. So we're going to have a for-profit side of the process that's franchisable. We actually nailed that down today, which was really cool. So when we get to the point where the processes are completely built, we can turn the plastic part of everything into a franchisable company and spread it into each city.
Heck yeah. So I guess my question was, before we hop off, was what was that be all in moment for you? What was that moment where you're like, I'm going all in on this thing?
Ooh, I like that question. I really do. So the be all in moment for me, I think, was when it wasn't an exact moment. It was more like, I would say, the trajectory of a week from when we fully got into this. There was a week where I've done a lot of things in my life, and it's always felt like forcing people to get involved, like pushing and like, hey, get involved in this, help me with this, and not, like, it doesn't, like, pushing through something. It felt like fighting through jungles, to get something done. When we started this, it took on a life of its own. People started finding my website out of nowhere. People started contacting my partner at the co-work out of nowhere. People within the first 30 to 60 days started talking about what I was doing without me in the room, and introducing people to me without me ever asking. That's when my brain clicked, and I'm like, there's no going back.
Heck yeah, man. Well, there you have it. Brandon Stevens, owner, founder of UPG Waste. Where's the best place to find you? I know you're based out of Londonderry, New Hampshire, so you're here in New England.
Yep.
But where's the best place to find you?
I myself live in Hensdale. I live in southern New Hampshire, right by Brattleboro in Massachusetts.
I looked up UPG Waste, and it said Londonderry.
We have the first drop-off location in Londonderry, so we have our actual company headquarters there, because we're partnering with a co-work, which is a co-working facility. So we have like, my partner runs that and has an office for us there, and then we're opening up the second facility in Pembroke and just going from there. But the best,
Pembroke.
Yeah, the best way to contact me is brandon@upgwaste.com. Just send me an email, or you can look up the company on site, and the company number, you can always text that. I have an app where your text will come through. I consider us a textable company, because I know there's a lot of people who don't just like calling, so that's fine. So you can email me, text me, and you can find me on any social media channel at Cody vs. World, COTYVS World, right? That's my handle on every social media channel, and Cody's my middle name.
I like the universal across all channels. You gotta have that.
It's a big thing. Learn that from Gary V.
Yes, sir. Awesome. Well, hey man, it's great chatting again with you, and I'm hoping it looks like a few people hopped on, got some value. I'm sure a bunch of people will catch the replay. So hope you have a great rest of your Friday, and I hope you crush it. And everybody else, remember, if you want to be balling,
be all in.
All right.
Awesome.
Catch you guys later.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Later, man.